So we are going to show you today our March Azure standard order, and then we're going to talk about why we're not ordering from Azure in April.
We are doing Localism month.
Yes.
One of the things we really thought was a cool idea was your local economy map. So if you took out Google Maps right now and put a little star on all the places you go to every week that are, that you actually go to every week. So I would, even if it is an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours away, make yourself a map of your life. So, for us, it's like post office, coffee shop, hardware store, church, auction companies, family. Like you have this map, friends. Like most of our life happens in this area. And that's a really great thing of like, do we like this area? This was the cool concept of this map is, can we find things as close to home as possible? We
live in a pretty rural area. We don't think it's rural enough, but everyone who comes and visits us is like, you live in the boondocks, which...
That's high praise.
We appreciate. However, because we live in the boondocks, we have to drive a pretty far distance to get a lot of the things we need. So for us, with our April Localism Challenge Month, we are deciding that we are going to shop within an hour radius of where we live. Ideally, you would want to shop within 15 minutes of where you live. And if you live in a city, you could very well do that. And if you live in a town that's focused on health and providing resources for each other, then that's doable. But for where we live, health is not a priority, so trying to find organic food and raw milk is a bit challenging. So that's why we're doing a 1 hour radius of where we live.
And then another cool thing as well is the tie between local economy and belonging to a community. A lot of times when we go to big box stores or fast food chains or big corporations, we know that the other people there are just doing a job. And so we're like, get in, get out, get your stuff, get out of here. Like no one really cares. But when you understand small little businesses in a town that, that's why I love this map idea of like, okay, we're starting to see like, hey, we go to the coffee shop at least once a week. It's the same coffee shop. We go to the hardware store at least once a week. It's the same hardware store. We go to the post office at least once a week. It's like, we can start being intentional because it's like, okay, we're going to see the same people 50 times this year, at least. Why not ask what their name is? Get to know them, chat a little bit every time you see them. That's how you start feeling, especially for most of us, especially the millennial generation, we're not living where we grew up. And so how do you get into belonging to a community? It's through the economy mostly. I mean, obviously there's church, there's sports clubs, there's hobby groups and stuff like that, which is great. But what about the 50 times you're going to see someone in a year? You're going to exchange money with them. It's a very real thing. Money is very highly attached to our hearts. And so to support someone's business is a highly emotional thing. It's a very emotional thing for the business person on the other end of that. Whether their business succeeds or fails, do people like what I sell? Am I a significant part of this community as a business owner? So it's just a really cool part of localism, a local economy, is we can get to know the people on our map.
And we've done this before. Back in June of 2019, we decided to only buy our groceries within our local area. And that was so much fun. And we ended up spending way less money than we normally would shopping at the big box stores. And so since then, we have really grown a lot in our localism endeavors, and we've stopped shopping at these big chain stores. But we still order from businesses online, small companies. We order from Azure Standard, and there's nothing wrong with that. You can definitely support, and we want to support our friends that live far away from us by supporting their shops online. But we decided for the month of April to really be intentional with, okay, we're only spending our money in this area. We're not shopping online. And what happens with that is we're forced now to either limit ourselves and the stuff we can't find, we must not need, or to actually explore and discover new places that we wouldn't have because it's easier to buy it online.
Supporting someone's business is one of the most practical ways of loving your neighbor. You know, these big box stores, they don't care about your town, they don't care about your neighbor. But the little business owner, they care about your town because, you know, they either grew up there or they've moved there and now they have a stake, they have an ownership in the town, in the community. And the people that they hire are their neighbors, you know, so if you treat them badly or abuse them or vice versa, if employees abuse them, it's like you're going to bump into each other for the rest of your lives in this little town. They have a very deep stake in treating people well.
Yeah, an example would be when we lived, or when we moved out of our last place and we were going to South Africa, we put all of our stuff in a storage unit. And at the time, we were kind of in a rush to get things going, and we just picked the storage unit that had the best reviews on Google. It ended up being a huge chain storage unit, like all across America. So we didn't even think about that. We put our stuff in there, go to South Africa. Within 2 months of being there, they raised our prices $25 a month. And we couldn't do anything about it because we were in South Africa. They couldn't care.
Yeah, their thing is if you don't like it, move your stuff. And we couldn't move our stuff.
Exactly. And rethinking it, we were like, man, if we would have went with a small locally owned place, they would never do something to frustrate the customer like that because it reflects on their small business, and one bad review destroys their company. And so that was a huge lesson learned. Like with any area, a lot of times we just think with food, but with any area, the importance of shopping locally and knowing the name on the face of the business owner and the family who owns it.
Yeah, and so when we buy locally, you often have to pay a little bit more than you would from these big box stores. The big box stores buy incredibly huge bulk amounts from China or from wherever they get their stuff, and they're able to really lower the prices and sell stuff below what the mom and pop shops can sell. So we look at it as generosity. When we go to a mom and pop shop and the thing is 15-20% more expensive, even sometimes 100% more expensive, you know it's actually generosity. You know, it's part of us giving dignity to a neighbor, you know, and it's a privilege, it's a pleasure to support your local community and be a part of your local community. If we stop supporting the small businesses, and it's like if the small independent coffee shop closes down, if the small hardware store closes down, now it's Walmart, Kroger, and Starbucks. That's who you've got to go to.
And they've monopolized the system.
They've monopolized the system, and they don't care about your town, and shoop, all your money gets sucked out, right? So if you go to McDonald's, for instance, because every small town has a McDonald's. McDonald's, like they're like, sure, you know, they're bringing jobs to your town. It's like all that money goes straight out of our town. Why? Because the meat is from out of town. The buns are from out of town. Everything is from out of town, and that money just goes straight out of town. But the small mom and pop restaurant, it's like that is direct money going to town because hopefully they're sourcing from the small farmers in your area. Hopefully they're getting stuff from the bakery in your area or making their own bread. They don't have access to McDonald's vertical integration logistics system that just sucks your money out of your town. So we just need to think along the lines of, is this money staying in my town? Is it loving my neighbor? Or is it just loving some nameless, faceless corporation? And when we talk about shopping local, a lot of people are like, well, Scott, this is such a contradiction with Azure. They're other side of the country. They've got a logistics system. They're doing huge bulk prices and stuff. And it's like, that's fine. It's the same with all of our friends who have internet shops around the country that we support. We're supporting values. We're supporting them because we're like, man, this is great no matter where it is. And we also want to have that intention with our local guys as well. Because here's the thing, there's going to be some local shops who you don't agree with their values. You know, so for instance, the coffee shop owner might be completely opposite of your cultural values.
Well, the co-op that's near us is completely opposite of our values.
And so, you know, we have these conflicts and these tensions that it isn't clear cut and it isn't easy. And it's like we're doing 20/80 is our thing of like, can we do, you know, 80% of our shopping local And then it's okay. You know, we even say to people like, hey, if Amazon's the only place you can get something, like, then you have to get it at Amazon. But we don't want to spend our life on Amazon. We don't want to spend our life at Kroger. We don't want to spend our life at Walmart. And I think that's what we're trying to say here with local is how can we get things local so that we do encourage local, you know, because a lot of time there is no local grocery store. There is no local hardware store. And so, you know, in that place of like, Lord, how do we encourage local economy to flourish again? It comes with these hard sacrifices and holding these tensions. That's a journey we're on.
Here is what we ordered from Azure for the month of March and break down those prices. And we will not be ordering from them in April.
Here's our shopping.
Total this month came to $238, and then it was $20 for shipping. We live in Indiana, so we have a shipping fee. So this time around was mostly produce. So we are trying to grow all of our own produce this year. But until then, I'm trying to load up on things. And that way I don't have to order as much. And like we always say, it is so much cheaper to order things in bulk and store them. And this month, Azure had a lot of sales within their produce. So you'll see we got a lot of produce. So last month we got a 10-pound box of lemons, and normally I would not order another 10-pound box because we have an abundance. But they were on sale, 20% off, I think. So normally 10 pounds is $28, but this box was $22. And someone commented on my last video that you can freeze lemons, and I have never thought about that. So I'm gonna explain these next two because we ordered 40-pound boxes of sweet potatoes and yams, and normally I would never do that because I would be afraid that they'd go off, but they were on sale this month, and since we have stopped shopping at Kroger and all these big chain stores, it's hard to come across sweet potatoes. So I'm going to try to grow as much potatoes as I can myself this year. And if you look online for buying potato slips to plant in your garden, they're actually really expensive. So I figured I would go ahead and get the sweet potatoes and yams to plant in our garden, and then whatever I don't plant, we will enjoy. And they happen to have both of them on sale this month. For 20 pounds of sweet potatoes, it was $40. So that makes these $2 per pound. And then the yams were $38.72 for 20 pounds. So that makes them $1.93 per pound. So berries are so good for you in general. So I've got the frozen red raspberries. I got 3 bags of these that came together. The other 2 are just in our freezer. So this was $12.09 for 3 bags. That makes them $4 a bag. And then I did the same thing with the frozen broccoli. I've been trying to get the bigger box of broccoli, but they are always sold out. So I went ahead and settled for the 3-pack. So like I said, with the raspberries, the other 2 are currently in our freezer, but it was $6.44 for 3 bags, making them $2.14 a piece. And then last month we got the 3-pack of the mozzarella string cheese, and that was $13.40 for all 3, which makes them $4.46 each. I know I said last month I'm done ordering seeds, but I realized I didn't have any poppy seeds, so these were $2.75 for a bag. And then these were also on sale this month. They were I think they were on sale. They were $12.80 for 3 bags, and each bag is 3 pounds. So that makes them $1.42 per pound for red onions. We got another stock of celery, so that was $3.60, and this is a huge stock. We have more ginger, and this was $6, and another cabbage, that is $6, and we'll probably split it, half sauerkraut and half make coleslaw. And then we have organic oranges. They were also on sale, so it's $7.60 for 4 pounds. And then celery seed for the coleslaw that we will be making from scratch, and that was $3.91 per 4 ounces. And then we have the 3-pack of the baby kosher dill pickles. And these are a little bit expensive, honestly. They were $14.52 for all three, which makes them $4.83 per pound. Then I got active dry yeast. You all have been very encouraging with my sourdough skills, but until I can get that going, we will be using this with our Friday pizza night. Are loving this sorghum. Before, we've just been ordering 1 jar of sorghum at a time, but you can order 3 for $20.61, which makes them $6.87 a bottle rather than the 7 something I was paying. So we always use sorghum with our oats. Sorghum has lots of antioxidants. And we find that it's cheaper to use sorghum than it is to use honey or maple syrup with our oats. I got more of the Himalayan pink salt for us. It was $8.90 for a 5-pound bag, and that makes it $1.78 per pound. And this is so exciting. So for years, I have looked for a natural cleaner for our washing our vehicles, and Azure has some. So this was $5.45 for a 32-ounce bottle, and this was what I wanted to order last month, and instead I ordered the cacao. So this is Carob baking chips, so there's no caffeine in them. It's actually not chocolate, but I did open it so I could try it, and it tastes more like malty chocolate. Like if you like malted milk balls, like it's kind of the combination of chocolate and the malt flavor. I really like it. It's really good. So this was $8.50 for a 1-pound bag. So this was our order from this month, and I'm really well pleased with everything.